Maisie, no! I think this is a really, really bad idea. They don't need to know. They don't ever need to know. In fact, I think they'd be probably happier if they didn't know. Far, far happier, in fact. Trust me, I know these kinds of things. You think this is the first time I've done something like this? Well, it's not. It's not the first time, and I know it won't be the last either. Especially because I'm not going to tell them, and you aren't either. You can't, Maisie. You just can't. It took me 3 months to make. Each and every day working a little bit more and a little bit harder, but that's not the point. Anybody could do something like this if they really tried. I tried to get you into this before, remember? It's simple. Or it can be. I'd never ask anybody to put in the amount of work I do when they can make the process that much easier for themselves. Well, for starters, most doll makers don't sculpt their dolls by hand. Anybody who's looking to do this regularly, or commercially anyhow. Hard plasticky dolls like this are usually molded and cast within, well, mold, a 3D cast of what they're actually going to look like. But there's just as many ball-jointed dolls that are sold online that aren't made for the purpose of customization that sculpting it by hand just isn't worth the extra effort if you simply want to make a doll. I just like the extra effort. I like hand sculpting it. Even when you see the occasional thumbprint or rough edge, it just feels more like something I made. It feels like mine. It just feels like an extra amount of love, you know? And that's why I'm making any of these little things in the first place. Whether they're just based on a cute-looking character or if they're, well, based on a real person. The extra love is what makes them mine. But we can't just show them. Don't you know how weird that is? Oh, hello, crush all defined my lifetime. Here's my 1/8 scale replica of you that I made by observing you from a respectful distance. Yes, of course I hand-wefted your locks. And hey, where'd that restraining order come from? Boom. Scandal. Forced to move high schools. Explosion. Extra explosion for good measure. Expulsion. Third explosion! At this rate, I won't be allowed to be buried in the same country, let alone the same cemetery. I think I just prefer if they just continued to know I wasn't alive. It's weird. If I left them a life drawing of them, they might find it charming so long as I only did it once or twice. If I wrote them a nice letter, they might even cherish it, but nobody, absolutely nobody, would be especially excited to accept a doll version of themselves. I don't know if it comes from the stigma of voodoo dolls, or it's just the physicality of the process that comes from sculpting the equivalent of a person and all the various little textures involved, but it's just weird. We aren't even supposed to like dolls anymore, Maisie. There's no way I can give this to them without majorly creeping them out, or, you know, the whole restraining order thing that really jams up my joint tombstone plans. But I don't think I can really hold on to this doll anymore either. Even ignoring the apocalyptic possibilities that could come from it falling out of my backpack and everybody knowing what a freak I am for sewing each strand of hair into its scalp, it's even weirder to bring it back home and let it sit there on my shelf like an effigy or something. Especially considering I know how much they'd hate me for having it. Maybe throwing it away would release me of these feelings. These stupid, stupid feelings that cause me to make stuff like this, in the hopes that they'd I don't know, find it quirky and charming and completely understand that this is just how I think about the world around me and how, in turn, I put things back into it. I must come off as a super spaz, but a doll is a doll is a doll is a doll is a doll, but in a way, it's also kind of like a person frozen in time, or the idea of a person, or the idea of that specific person, molded in plastic and cloth or clay and preserved for as long as that doll is cared for and, well, given the chance to thrive, but I know nobody else thinks like I do, Maze. I know even you aren't exactly on my side in regards to this whole thing. You were the one who unloaded your doll collection onto me to make room on your vanity for lip gloss and earring trees, but I'm late for class! Oh no, come on, hurry! We can worry about it later. It's not like the doll's gonna go anywhere. You remember to take off that stupid note, right? The last thing I need for them is to read something as lovey-dovey and mushy as that.